used to tell me all the time, Micaiah, you look so calm on TV. Often I would smile because it was more easy to do that than to tell the truth, because local TV news is anything but calm. In reality, it is scripts changing just as you're about to read them, producers yelling updates in your earpiece, and don't forget technology failing right when you need it the most. This was my norm for about a decade, not calm, just controlled chaos. And when I say chaos, I'm not talking about a busy day or a full inbox. I'm talking about the kind of chaos where your body reacts before your brain has time to think. This became comically obvious one morning as I was preparing for my live shot outside of a government building. It was around 5 a.m., y'all, that was my shift, my regular shift, and I had my usual setup. I had my scripts in my hand, I was under the bright lights, and the photographer had the camera set up. I heard the producers tell me in my earpiece, "Stand by Micaiah," which simply means you have about 5 seconds until hundreds of thousands of people are watching you on live television. And just at that moment, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a spider slowly lowering down toward me. True story. And this is important for you to know. I hate spiders. I hate bugs. I don't even like it if they're outside and I happen to be near one. So I freaked out. I couldn't imagine what I was going to do. Number one, I was afraid of becoming a viral YouTube video, fighting a spider on live television. But here's what I did instead. I steadied up, I began reading my script in my usual anchor voice, and as I read my script, I knew that I had about 10 seconds until video would start playing over my voice. As soon as I knew that video was rolling, I fought that spider like my life depended on it while reading my scripts. Now, I did all of that, and my photographer and I laughed about it for days. But when the adrenaline settled, I began to think, how did I stay calm? I mean, I was under bright lights on live television while memorizing a script, and I was truly afraid. The answer didn't come to me immediately, but days later, I realized that my brain had been trained by chaos, not to eliminate it, but to be able to center myself even when it was overwhelming me. Years later, I've now left the newsroom and I work as a public relations strategist and crisis navigator. In short, I help people get on TV, on the radio, those kinds of things. And then as a crisis navigator, people call me when the stakes are really high and they need help navigating those situations. Whenever I see one of my crisis clients in the midst of something, what I find is that it's not usually the crisis itself that overwhelms them, but rather when they lose themselves inside of it. I always work with them, as well as the NC State students that I coach as a lecturer here, and how to navigate those things. And that's what I wish was taught more and more often. So that's what we'll talk about here today. Those 3 things, those 3 tools that I learned that I think could benefit us all in chaos when the world feels really loud. So the first one is easy, right? Be prepared. Sometimes I get asked by people who used to know me from my TV days, how did you stay so calm in breaking news? So those are the moments where you hear, just in, we are bringing you breaking news from this situation, or something like, we interrupt this programming to bring you this breaking news. Those are sometimes situations that are life or death for someone. And I didn't have a direct answer for quite some time, but later I realized it's because I was prepared. Some of you may not know this, but newsrooms actually rehearse chaos. What do I mean by that? Well, we actually go through the motions of what we would do if a natural disaster was coming to our community. We practice how quickly we can report that hurricane or that tornado to the community. We also rehearse things like Amber Alerts. If we were to get the make and model of a vehicle, how quickly could we disseminate that information so a child could come home safely? We also rehearse things like technology failures. What do we do when the teleprompter goes out and you're on live television? It's really fun, trust me on that one. And we rehearse how quickly we can get to paper scripts, get them printed, and back to the anchor desk. Why did we do that? We did that not because we think all of these things are going to happen at the exact same time, but rather that any one of them could happen at any given time. In rehearsing it for myself, I felt calmer, I felt more steadied. But what I learned is that science actually calls this rehearsing cognitive schemas, or creating mental pathways. So that way our brains don't feel unfamiliar in situations where we really need logic and clarity. So what does that mean for you? Well, I recommend that when we have those cycles of fear or the cycles of doubt, instead of going in the cycle, perhaps we just consider preparing ourselves. For instance, if you have a new driver in the household, instead of worrying about what they would do if they got a flat tire on I-40, actually go through the steps with them of what they should do to call AAA, call you, and maybe call a tow truck. The second thing I want to talk about is what I will call communication. A lot of people think that news anchors are great communicators because we speak clearly, and I'm going to disagree with that. News anchors are great communicators because of something that happens well before words ever left our mouths. For me, it was in my pause. It was a brief moment where I took a deep breath right before I anchored a newscast that always centered me. Why don't we do it all together? Everyone, inhale and exhale. Don't we all feel better? I will tell you that by taking that one pause before I began talking about the news of the day, the chaos of the world, and frankly, some uncertain times, it really helped to ground me and helped to find me in more centered places when I was feeling anxious or overwhelmed. The third and final piece that I think can help us today is the power of connection. When you are in a newsroom or a studio, sometimes viewers don't actually remember that news anchors are talking to a camera and not real people. You can lose yourself inside of that, especially if you've been anchoring for 6 hours, that you are talking to families getting ready for schools, maybe sometimes someone who's recently lost their job or something of the sort. But it's that power of connection that always brought me back home. It was me knowing that sometimes I was the very first voice that someone was waking up to that gave me greater purpose and value. So if we are facing chaos at work, for example, consider a coworker who you might be able to lean on and talk to rather than considering that, oh, I am all alone in this. Another option is you could chat with a boss, and if there is no one, maybe it's you grounding yourself in your own purpose and value and the reason that you're there. Now, back to you. We all have a different version of pressure. You may not be under bright lights or facing a spider coming down towards you, but we all have something to consider, something that's cycling that might actually overwhelm us. And what I wish I knew when I was far younger is that chaos is not the enemy. Losing ourselves inside of it is. So instead of thinking the world needs to get quieter for you to find peace, think of grounding yourself in something greater than you in order to navigate it. So the next time that you have your version of a spider coming down on your head, I want you to remember these 3 things. Number 1, know that you're prepared. Number 2, lean on one another. And number 3, always take a moment for yourself. Thank you.